AWS. And off we go. Today we have ourselves an unbranded class 801. Assume it's an Azuma though. Let's do our rolling brake test. Good roll. Good brakes. We have our AWS indicator showing an alert. So we will not start speeding up yet. The speed restriction you see on the speedo is not accurate. That's left over from my test. You can see we currently have a 125 limit here, but this particular speedo does not go up to 125. AWS is cleared, so we can speed up a little bit, but we're going to have to limit ourselves to 30 shortly, so let's not get carried away. We're rolling into Peterborough, and we're going to be heading to London King's Cross today. AWS for the speed restriction. Let's bring ourselves down. Keep an eye on that speed. That'll do it. There you go. Switch to 30. Now we have a 25 coming up, but that's at the end of the platform, so we won't worry about that just yet. We have a few passengers to pick up here at Peterborough. AWS. Clear. That'll do it. Open those doors. Hello! Welcome back to Train Simulator Classic. Kerr Martian here. I think this is the first stream I've done in over a year. I want to say 14 to 16 months, maybe like November 2022. It's been a while. I have played a little bit of Train Simulator along the way, but most of my train simulation effort has gone into creating and reverse engineering and designing a bunch of components for a physical train simulator controller. You can see some of the components of it here. We have from left to right a DRA button. DRA, you can see it syncs up with the DRA. I'm pointing at a screen, you can't actually see my screen. We have a speedometer, which has an ATP readout. Now this is only supposed to show warnings about why you're getting an ATP speed warning or why you're getting your brakes applied for you, what we call in the US a penalty application. I'm using it to show the speed as a digital readout just for fun. Got the dial, got the ATP speed limits being shown there. This is showing we have a 25 mile an hour restriction coming up, for example. Air gauge with straight air and brake pipe, or if you prefer, main res and brake cylinder. And we have an AWS sunflower, a nice physical clicky electromechanical sunflower. Finally, we have an AWS acknowledger button here, all connected via CAN bus. Actually, I've been designing my own CAN controller that you can read about on my website, z80.me. There's a signal fault between here and Huntingdon. Engineers have been dispatched to correct the fault. We'll contact you again before you reach Huntingdon Station. So, nothing to do yet. We will just take a look at our doors here, make sure they're closed. Clear signal. AWS is clear, no DRA. Let's go. We have a 25 restriction coming up, as we know from that flashing warning, so let's not get carried away. Peg it at 23 here. Thanks, Danny. I appreciate that. Apologies if you said that a while ago. I'm just flipping over to OBS every once in a while to see what the comments are. crossing over. So we are running a semi-fast service to London King's Cross south from Peterborough on an overcast 6:40 a.m. here in the UK. As soon as the back of our train clears this 25... Oop, sorry. As soon as the back of our train clears the 105, we should be in 105. Let's go. Now the limit on the speedo should be 105 now, but it doesn't go that high. So we will rely on the digital readout. One of my favorite things to accidentally discover, something that I've never actually noticed the train simulator does, but it should, is that after you do a number of brake applications and release them, take a number of applications and release them, the needle will gradually drop on your main res, as it should, because you're using up your air, and then tick back up again as the compressor recharges. I'm suitably impressed that Train Simulator actually simulates that behavior. We're getting to that 105, which is now 115. Keep bringing that speed up. 115 right there. Clear AWS. So we're making our way through the 2-track section of the East Coast Main Line, just south of Peterborough. Eventually we'll get to 3 tracks, and then the nice 4-track main. Thanks, me too. So, if you all haven't been checking out my thread on Chematech or my blog, my goal here is to have something that looks like an actual train dashboard. I'm modeling my particular dashboard after the Class 800 series, which is what we have right here today, including headlight and environmental controls on the left, door controls, our main set of instruments, our master controller, a combined master controller to start with ideally. Let's keep that speed up. Door controls for the right side over here, AWS, auxiliary controls on some Class 802s, the ones that have backup diesel generators, prime movers, and yeah, pantograph instrumentation over there, controls. Yeah, so that's what I'm going for. So far, I've been working on my instruments. I also created a master controller prototype. See, this is what we're going to get. Talking, I'm not looking, and we're speeding. Professionalism is what we're aiming for here, but professionalism is not what we're going to get if I am talking. Clear AWS. That was a gradual enough speed limit change, 115 to 100, that there is no AWS warning for that restriction. Correct me if I'm wrong, UK train experts, but it seems like AWS is usually used to warn on speed restrictions only when it is a substantial change or a low speed restriction. When you don't want to go 100 and a 30, for example. Let's bring it back up to 105. Board there, so we have a grade crossing coming up. Nice Doppler shift. Yeah, so I've been busy trawling eBay for UK train instruments like this authentic, possibly never used speedometer right here. It's in mint condition. This particular one did not have a calibration sticker on it, but I have another ATP enabled speedometer with a 90. Oh, hold on. This is the 90. Ha! I actually have one that has a 120 limit. This is the one I thought I had installed. They're interchangeable actually nicely. They have the same pin out. They use this 37 pin adapter to give it the speed limit information and the current digital readout. nearing that 125. I've gotten this speedometer, this air gauge on eBay. Found this AWS Sunflower. Actually, this is a legitimate AWS acknowledger button from Train. Request permission to pass the red signal as soon as you're clear of the single yellow close to Huntington. You'll still need to stop at the red. All right, so we're going to get limited down to basically 0 with our signals is the expectation. So we'll have to keep a close eye on things. But then we will ask the signaler for permission past the red signal. Stop at the red, treat it as a stop and proceed, and then assuming we get permission, proceed. Trains. It's been a while. It has been a long while since I have done a train simulator stream. A lot of that has been just not having time to actually play Train Simulator. Life has been very busy, and what train-related time I do have has either gone into volunteering at my favorite train museum or working on the many, many different facets of this physical train simulator controller, like the CAN bus, these little, I don't know if you can see from my camera, but the controller boards that make this whole system work. I have a new circuit board on its way to control my speedometers here, so I can just plug it right into the back. And what little train simulation I've done, I have not streamed. I've just been playing it on my own. But I figure, why not? It's a good reason to, good way rather, to show off the work that I've been doing. I have been writing blog posts describing the work that I've done, but because I never find time to actually write them, I'm way behind. This is a nice way to show it without a particular effort. And I appreciate y'all joining me for the stream. Huntington up fast reverse is in 3 4/5 miles. 3 2/3. Rapidly approaching. What's aboard? My goal is to not use any keyboard controls to be able to operate the trains here. To have an actual master controller, to use my instruments, and actually get rid of the HUD as well. Sorry, I keep waving at my screen. I know you can't actually see my screen. I just have the camera focused on the instruments. For those not familiar, and since you can't actually see it in the video, I have 5 monitors arranged in a giant rectangle. Here comes our speed restriction, and that is what I'm waiting at. Let's start bringing that speed down and get ready to acknowledge our AWS. There it is. And our AWS Sunflower goes yellow to remind us that we acknowledged a restriction. Now that was a double yellow, so we expect no more restricting than a single yellow up ahead. Could be a green, could be a double yellow, could be a single yellow. But we expect it to be, based on what the informational text told us, a single yellow. Let's keep bringing that speed down, because we might have to stop in about 1.25 miles. We were told as soon as we pass the single yellow to ask the signaler for permission past the upcoming red. AWS again, acknowledge it. There's our single yellow. I don't have a button for it yet, but we'll press tab. We've gotten permission to pass the signal of danger. So let us approach the signal expecting to find a red. We can lay off the brakes just a little bit as our speed comes down on our speedo. 47, 45, 40 miles an hour. We can glide along here. What do we have up there? Looks like we have a red and yellow. What is that? That would be a failed signal for sure. One of the rules of railroading is any aspect or pattern of colors on a signal that is not a valid aspect is treated as if it was a red signal. what we have here is not a red and yellow. We have a red with a, treat this as a stop and proceed on it. As instructed, we will stop at the signal. And you see we have that little board underneath it. Alright, we have stopped. I'll pull my DRA here. Push rather my DRA. It's slap it down to apply it, pull it to release it. Now we've gotten permission past this red signal, but by train simulator logic, we should wait for that little timer to clear. Okay, the points at the faulty signal are clear. You can now proceed to King's Cross. This should not affect your standard timetable, and the remaining run should be clear. All right, pull our DRA. That lets us apply traction power again and get going. Now, because we still have our AWS shown here, our AWS alert, we won't go crazy until we get to the next AWS wrap that tells us we are clear far ahead. I believe that is correct procedure. Our next stop is King's Cross, so I apologize, I was mistaken. This is not a semi-fast service, this is a fast service. An express straight from Peterborough to King's Cross. I see a clear signal up ahead, so let's do this thing. Here's our AWS route, clear, beautiful. It is realistically a overcast winter day here in Train Simulator, as it is an overcast winter day in the real world. Spring is on its way, although you wouldn't know it from Train Simulator, or indeed the outside world. Gray and rainy. Speed limit's approaching. Speed limit is 125. We are getting there. We're back in the 4-track section of the East Coast Main Line as we head south up to King's Cross. HST. This route has not been updated in a substantial amount of time. So, for example, our Class 801s are still in this Hitachi livery. We are substantially smoother. Rather than the LNER Azuma livery. And there's still HSTs on the ECML, which is not at all true in real life. Down for the 120. It's the curse of streaming Train Simulator. Train simulation requires concentration, just like real trains. Talk, you lose your concentration and you forget to keep track of the fact that your speed is rising. I remember there was a Train Simulator stream I did, it's got to be a year and a half to 2 years ago now, where I was trying to get a perfect score. It was a 1,000-point wrench match because the perfect score of Train Simulator is 1,000. And I kept having to, I forget if I was saving and reloading or starting over again, trying to get that perfect score. I think I was starting over again. Go back to 120 and soon 125. Yes, I think you were there, Danny. I think you were there for that stream. The annoying thing is that when I play by myself, when I'm not streaming and I can just concentrate, I tend to do markedly better, not perfect, but better than when I am streaming. So I wish I could get that level of perfection and professionalism while also talking about what's going on. Clearly what I need is a commentator for my train simulator streams. At least once I had my good friend Geek Boy join me for a stream. We have a 40-mile-an-hour limit if we were diverging, but we are not diverging as far as we know. We've gotten no signals or alerts to suggest, and our AWS is clear. So no need to go down to 40. Geek Boy joined us, and I remember there was some good banter. Gotta get some more guest commentators on. Clear signal. The 25-mile-an-hour limit on the ATP speed limit ring on my speedometer is still lit up because it should be lighting up 125 as our limit, but you can see that on the actual actual simulated train. Since this doesn't have a 125 LED, the software that's running on the computer that sends information to these instruments isn't sending such a message so that it doesn't get confused. So it stays where it was at 25. There it is. Make sure we keep our speed up so we can arrive on time. We're currently estimated to be 9 seconds early to King's Cross for our 7:29 arrival. Passing a slow service here. Hello. Ha! There was a driver on the rear of that train. There we go. Hello, sir. Not sure why he's hanging out in the rear cab there. Aboard, here in the US, clear signal. Sorry if I sound a little nasal, just getting over a bit of a cold, a bit of a tad sniffly. I'm really looking forward to when I can have an actual master controller. I am designing my own. I'm doing my best to see if I can source a real one. They are very hard to get, especially one that would have enough notches to simulate all the different trains. I want to be able to simulate 7 power notches and at least 4 plus emergency brake notches. There in the US, clear signal. They tend not to show up on places like eBay very often, especially since the things that do show up are trains that are being retired and scrapped, which have less advanced master controllers that I'm looking for. And it is tough to get a manufacturer to sell you one. So, my current plan is to keep designing my own, per my blog post on z80.me that shows my design in progress, while also trying to acquire one. There's an interesting rounding error that's happening. I think I'll try to keep myself at 124. You can see at points the speed limit shown in Train Simulator is 125. There is a US signal. My current speed in Train Simulator shows is 125. My current speed on my Speedo is 125. but I guess it's actually rounding up to 126 and telling you that I'm speeding. Clear AWS, clear signal. I've been pleased to find that the speed limit LEDs on the speedometer work if I take a train that is outfitted with ATP, automatic train protection, which is what these, I keep pointing at my screen, what these LEDs on the speedometer and train simulator mean for. That those LEDs work as long as I have an ATP enabled train, even if I'm on a route that is not ATP enabled. There's only 2 routes in the UK that actually have that outfitted, the Chiltern Main Line and the Great Western Main Line. But it seems Train Simulator lets it work everywhere, which is very good. So I just have to drive what are called IETs, the next generation of intercity express trains, like this Class 801. Clear AWS, clear signal, everywhere in the UK. Sadly, they are not everywhere in the UK, but one day maybe. I say sadly. One of the things I've loved about riding trains in the UK, one of the things I looked forward to, here at the clear signal was the board, was the variety of trains. Here in the US, we have a relatively small variety, especially of intercity trains. It's all diesel locomotive hauled Amtrak trains, or maybe if you're lucky, a Bright Line diesel locomotive hauled train. In the UK, there are a plethora of different train types you can ride. Many, many different classes among the major categories of electric multiple units, or EMUs, relatively few locomotive hauled services these days. Plenty of DMUs, diesel multiple units, which is very rare in the US. Clear AWS, clear signal. Even the trusty old Pacers buses that have been converted to trains. To be fair, there's also quite a bit more electrification in the UK than there is here in the US, which lends itself well to EMUs like our Class 801 today. Clear AWS, clear signal. We have the station of Arlesey that we're passing through here. Arlesey, excuse me. Clear AWS, clear signal. By far the routes that I play most often in Train Simulator are the East Coast Main Line, where I currently am, and the Brighton Main Line, I think it's called, between London Victoria and Brighton. So I've gotten relatively familiar with those 2 routes. I must admit I have not yet memorized every station and point of interest along the way, although for the sake of proper route learning, it would be good for me to actually know that. In particular, knowing where the speed limits are, at least in Train Simulator, will further allow me to, clear AWS, clear signal, travel these routes while just relying on my instruments and removing this HUD here that tells me how far away I am from my next destination and what the upcoming speed limits are. In a perfect world, my speedometer would tell me upcoming speed limits all the time. But until I acquire an ATP-enabled speedometer, see, 125, 125, and speeding, I won't be able to do that. By the way, I trust that my audio is okay. I did a couple of quick audio tests before I started my stream. But if you have any difficulty hearing me, or if the train simulator sounds are overwhelming, please let me know. Clear AWS, clear signal. Got a gas storage unit over there. Decommissioned, of course. And I believe that indicates we're going to be having a line joining from the left there, if I remember my layout properly. There it is. Hitchin. We're going through Hitchin. Cool. Thank you, Danny. Hey, Jeffitis. Sorry, one of the problems is seeing names all the time on ChemTech. I just say them in my head. Doesn't necessarily correspond to how I would say them out loud. I think I say Jeffitis in my head, but now that I think about it, Jeffitis seems like it would be more correct. You tell me. Clear AWS, clear signal. I think the most famous example of that is the username TR1P1EA, which for the longest time in my head was just Triplia. Why is our speed dropping? We're going uphill. But I later realized should be AAA, referring probably to the batteries within our favorite TI graphic calculators. Clear signal, clear AWS. One of the things that I don't like about, well, train simulator or simulation of trains in general is without the physical cues of being able to feel going up a hill, you can easily start slowing down going up a hill, or worse, speed up going down a hill and not even realize it until you look at your instruments. We're still losing speed in a way that makes me think something else has gone wrong, like our traction power has dropped out, and our gauges confirm that. We are in neutral for some reason. Why are we in neutral? Interesting. I don't seem to be able to get into forward again. This is exciting. So, let's bring ourselves to a safe stop here and see if we can figure it out. As we pass through Stevenage here, we do not have enough distance to actually stop at Stevenage, but we will stop there after. See if we can figure out what's going on. Is our pan down? Aha! Our pan has dropped. Let me see if I can get it up on the fly. Pan is still down. Is our rear pan up? Rear pan is up, so we should have power. Electric is lit up, but we cannot go into forward. Alright, we're going to stop and see. How exciting. Getting thrown into neutral often corresponds with an emergency brake application, but obviously our brakes did not go into emergency. We're okay on air, so that's good. Instrument lights are all still on. We have a 115 limit coming up. Cannot go forward. Why? Ah, our master key is off. Ha! That'll do it. I wonder if I fat fingered a key, or if that was some kind of test. Well, anyway, off we go. That was exciting. We're now estimated to be a few minutes late to our King's Cross arrival at 7:29:26. But let's see what we can do. AWS clears. Remember, we just got an alert for that 115. So let's keep an eye out for that. Jeff Itus. Jeff Itus. All right, Jeff Itus it is. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I forget, were you around back when I was doing my train simulator streams in the before times, before I stopped doing them for like a year? I want to say yes, but I apologize. My memory is shot from years of stress and sleep deprivation. The days blend together, you know? We still have that 115 warning. Oh, I misspoke. I said AWS because of the speed limit. The AWS was putting ourselves back into forward. So I guess that 115 is very far ahead that we're getting a warning about. So we will disregard that for the moment. I am not speeding. 125 and 125 is not greater than 125. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Very good. There's our 115 board. Let's get it down. 120, 118, clear, battle repeater, clear signal, 117, 116, 115. Tunnel, banter. Not actually sure what the rules are here. Should I be putting the headlights into right when I'm in a tunnel? Don't know. If you know, let me know. Let's see. I think this is Welland North that we're passing through here. Unless I'm thinking of the wrong tunnel. Welland North. Put our headlights back into dim. I can't wait until I have a physical switch for that, so I don't have to glance over and train simulator. I actually do have the switches now. One of the things that I have done to source the components I need is buy some old dashboards from class 313 trains in the UK. Clear signal up ahead. And take their buttons. It turns out the type of button that's used in real trains, like these buttons you can see over here for our door controls, for our coupler controls, etc., we're speeding, are extremely expensive industrial push buttons. I mean, even the little LED bulbs that go inside them are $20 to $30. A single button with all of its components, this is Welland City, can be like $100. So it's actually cheaper for me to take the bits and pieces from old trains. If you, dear listener, viewer, know of sources of scrapped train parts or surplus industrial push buttons, especially if you know where I might be able to source legally, please, a master controller. Yeah, it's really crazy. It's super crazy. Annoyingly, I want to do this right. I want to make this as authentic as possible. So while I could get like arcade buttons, you know, the nice pushy buttons you have on arcade machines, I wanted it to actually be right. For example, I have a set of those 5 very expensive buttons that I put together into a replica of this, pointing at the screen again, this arrangement of 5 buttons used for door controls. Stand by. Hatfield. I'm just waiting for a couple of FETs to arrive, and I should be able to demonstrate those door controls. So I was saying, Train Simulator. These days, Dovetail Games, the creator of Train Simulator, is putting most of their development work into Train Sim World. This is their Unreal Engine-based next generation, quote-unquote, Train Simulator that they charge plenty of money for. Looks very nice. Lets you walk around. You aren't just stuck in the cab. You can actually walk around the world. However, it does not really have the interface for interfacing with hardware that Train Sim Classic does. So I can't really connect these instruments to Train Sim World. So if I want to use my instruments, I have to stick with Train Simulator Classic. I am hoping that they will change that in the future. Once I get a little bit further in my project, I intend to do a little bit of advocacy, trying to reach out to them to add support for external hardware to Train Sim World. I think I'm not the only one. There's a guy on Facebook who makes and sells individual components like AWS buttons or door controls that you can plug into your Train Sim Classic. But we shall see. One of the things that's slightly annoying about Train Sim Classic is it doesn't allow you to control everything Brookman's Park you might otherwise want to control with Train Simulator. Like if you try to actually press these buttons, they don't press. They're not real buttons. They're not pressable buttons. So, alas and alack. Nothing's perfect, but this is pretty fun, I have to say. I really like having my real instruments here. I'm working on becoming more reliant on looking here and less reliant on looking, again, pointing at the screen here for my current speed. I want to do it right. Yeah, I mean, those prices make sense in that they are 100 limit coming up. You know, for highly tested, high quality buttons that can sustain, you know, tens of thousands of cycles and like are effective for use with high voltages or high currents, like they, you know, snap apart rather than gradually come apart for production of arcs for high current power, you know, far, far, far overpowered for the application that I'm using it for. But again, I want it to be right. There's a diesel of a HST in the adjacent tunnel, which I really shouldn't, I don't think. Nothing's perfect. Don't mind my complaints. I am perfectly happy that even this is possible. Clear AWS, clear signal. We have just 11 miles left till King's Cross, so we're starting to get into the more populated suburbs of London. Trees and tunnels notwithstanding. Hadley Wood, clear AWS, clear signal. Here another train in the adjacent tunnel. Our speed is, since we're staying near the speed limit, our estimated time of arrival at King's Cross is gradually reconverging to that 7:29:26 that we're supposed to be there, so hopefully we'll be close to on time. Speed limit for diverging. Happily we are not diverging. I want to say this is Alexander. No, it's not. That's incorrect what it says. What is this? What is this? I'm trying to use my brain instead of looking at the signs. Blanking on it. New Barnett. I would not have thought of that. Still a 100-mile-an-hour limit. We get those signs every once in a while for trains that have joined from other tracks. Clear AWS, clear signal. Sorry, I'm just trying to see these station names as I go through. One day I'll have these in my brain. Oakley Park. Keep that speed up. You'll notice at low speeds, well, I say low speeds, speeds under 100 miles an hour, I use the, oh boy, I'm getting a delivery. Excuse me. I think that was for one of my neighbors, not for me, because I'm not expecting any Amazon deliveries, but who knows? Sorry about that. That is highly unprofessional. Nobody pauses your train. No Amazon drivers are going to hail your train when you're a train driver in the UK. Oi, mate. Time for this package. Gotta love the tall viaducts across the southern end of the ECML. Hello, HST. Don't worry, I'll get back to what I was saying momentarily. We are passing through New Southgate now with a 95 limit coming up. Drop our speed down for that, easy enough. So there's 3 digits on this ATP display, and this is supposed to do things like display SPD when you've gotten a penalty brake application because you were going above the speed curve that ATP, or automatic train protection, thinks, automated train protection thinks you need to be slowing down at in order to not exceed an upcoming speed restriction. I have used it, as I said, as a digital speed readout, and since there are 3 digits, when our speed is 2 digits, I use the last digit to show whether you are accelerating, holding steady, or decelerating. This is modeled after this should be Ali Pali, right? Yes, Alexander Palace. Modeled after the speedometer in the class 395 Javelin trains in the UK, which have that little extra digit to show accelerating, steady, decelerating. That can be quite handy when your change in speed is gradual, and you might not notice it even in the real world where you can feel the physical movements of the train. Thank you, I appreciate that. We are on the fast lines here, so we bypass the station. We have storage yards off to our left there. Oh, 90 limit coming up. Let's make sure we actually slow down for that. And you can see now my speedometer, since we've gotten down within the limit it can show, is actually showing that 90 limit for us. That is presumably a warning for the 80 coming up, which should be flashing. I'm not sure why it's not. That might be something for me to debug. It should be flashing. Anyway, we'll get down for the 80, which is followed by a 65. It's probably a 65 that we were getting alerted about, in fact. Let's keep that speed coming down. This, of course, Are we going to make it for that 65? We're going to have to be a little more aggressive. There we go. AWS. Sorry, that was Finsbury Park, of course, that we just went through. 60 limit coming up, and we have a whole series of restrictions that get us down to 15 for King's Cross, where we actually enter the platform. AWS, we're going to get a lot of these. We just passed Emirates Stadium over on our left. There's going to be another warning up here. Hello, HSD. Clear banner repeater, but restricting signal. Got to get down to 35. We are cleared into Tunnel A. I don't know why I said 35. 45 was what I meant. But now we need to get down to 15. I don't know whether this is still there in real life, but the 15 limit in this tunnel is a rare illuminated speed limit sign. Just coming up on the left here. But we need to be more aggressive with that deceleration. Just made it. We've got a slow service there off to the right, waiting for its platform. We're still going down a hill, so you can see we're accelerating slightly if we let go of the brakes. I need to do this from my speedometer, not from the screen. I'm looking forward to removing that HUD because then I can't cheat. By looking at the HUD rather than my instruments. Here we are at King's Cross. Do a bit of a brake check. Brakes seem good. Bring our speed down to 10 miles an hour as we approach the buffers at the end of the platform. Hello, Tater. How's it going? Today we will not run into the buffers. Alright, let's put those brakes up. Pop on our DRA. Put ourselves in neutral. Turn off our master key. Turn off our headlights. And open the doors for our passengers. Hello and welcome to King's Cross. Thank you for riding this Hitachi service. I guess it's not an LNER service. to King's Cross, and we hope you ride again with us in the future. Thank you. Not a whole lot of people getting off this train. We did make it here on time, and then some. How you doing, Tater? How's life treating you? Why is it so windy in here? That's strange. Very windy. You've completed your first task of the day without any issues. Please head to the office to pick up your next assignment. Well, I shall. Thank you. This was not a career scenario, which means I didn't get a score. It will tell me that I sped a bunch of times, 9 times, but they were very minor, like 1 mile an hour speeding, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. I experienced 24 seconds in a class 365. I beg to differ. Alright, if you say so. Very good. So, that was fun. If you all don't mind, I think another route might be in order. It's been so long since I've done a stream. Why not keep it going? So, let's stick with the UK. Ideally, I'll pick something that my train simulator controller instruments here can actually deal with. Well, I was just talking about London to Brighton, so that could be a fun one. I'd like to find one that has a lot of stops, a lot of traffic, that is, so that we can take advantage of things like the AWS unit here. Let's see what we have here. I've obviously done all of those before. I think there's a bug in this particular route, hence why it is a check mark for me, not a gold star. Let's just scroll through and see what else I have here. Germany, Midland Main Line. We've got Northeast Corridor, which also has not been updated in a long time. New Jersey, North London, North Wales. I wouldn't mind doing a Great Western route, but I haven't updated my Just Trains Great Western Main Line in a long time. Portsmouth Direct Line, that's a fun one. Waterloo to Portsmouth. Woking to London Waterloo on a foggy morning. Why not? Let's give it a try. This may not work. We'll see what my train simulator interface thinks about this. Sorry to hear you've been doing poetry rather than calculators rather. But I understand. I hear you. Main res pressure is not available on this locomotive. Alright, so let's just do a little bit of debugging here. This train gives us a lot of things we can read. I'm going to see if I can find what it calls the main reservoir air pressure. So currently, you can't see this, but my script on my computer is showing me a list of the instruments and controls that are available, like coach ID, ammeter, motor sound. All right, here we go. Train brake cylinder pressure PSI and main reservoir pressure PSI. So we need main reservoir pressure PSI, and there's a lot of other ones. Pantograph control. Ooh, doors interlock right, doors interlock left. That'll be useful. Pantograph control, sander, rain, bridge location, adhesion. Very good. Accelerometer reading? Damn. All right. But anyway, we want main reservoir pressure PSI. So I'm going to go to my script that I use here. Main reservoir pressure bar is what some of our trains provide. So we will say, let's make an enum here, which we will call class main res pressure unit. And we'll say unit bar equals 0, unit PSI equals 1. Then we'll say if main reservoir pressure bar in controls, then we'll call it MR pressure unit equals main res pressure unit dot unit bar, else, or rather elif main reservoir pressure PSI in controls, MR pressure unit equals main res pressure unit dot unit PSI, else throw, or rather raise assertion error, main res pressure is not available, and then we'll set MR pressure unit equals none. And when we actually read the pressure, we will say main res pressure bar if main res pressure. I hate how verbose Python is. Unit bar is equal to our MR pressure unit, else main reservoir pressure PSI. And I suspect we're going to have to do the same thing for our brake cylinder pressure. Let's give this a try. Line 122. Forgot our... Yep, brake cylinder pressure is not available on this loco. And we do indeed have... I wish I could share my screen with y'all, but I don't feel like telling OBS to change everything. I'll be done momentarily. I'm just updating the script. We'll call this BC pressure unit, and we'll copy this code. Change main reservoir to train brake cylinder. BC, brake cylinder, BC. Save that. And now that since I'm going to be using this unit for multiple things, let's call it just pressure unit rather than main res pressure unit. And make it read from the right one. BC pressure unit, else train brake cylinder pressure PSI. PSI. All right. Let's see what the next problem is. Well, I'm missing closing parenthesis. Brake cylinder pressure is not available on this loco. What did I mess up here? Train brake cylinder pressure. Train brake cylinder reservoir pressure. Cool. Controller index not found for ATP speed. So this train speedometer does not have ATP on it. So we will make that not forced. We'll say ATP present equals false, and we'll only enable ATP if that is actually there. ATP speed. if ATP speed in controls, ATP present equals true. And then we will say if ATP present, then do the ATP stuff. Otherwise, don't bother. All right. Let's double check that this works. Very good. All right. We're back. Good morning, driver. It's a misty one this morning. You will take charge of a class 450 on an early morning passenger service from Woking to London Waterloo, making several scheduled stops on the way. Please allow passengers to board here before departing. Doors are open. Alarms now audible. Driver vigilance device is active. That's good to know. We've got our DRA on because we have a restricting signal ahead. Let's put ourselves into forward. AWS is not working. Why? Oh, our pressure has gone up to 1,000,000. So what I have messed up is, well, that's exciting. Okay, we're going to have to fix that. I'm actually going to unplug this for the moment so it doesn't keep trying to jam itself up against the stop. That's exciting. So I was trying to set the pressure in bar. Oh, let's pause this for a moment. How do you like me debugging on stream? Click, clack, click, clack, click, clack. Thank you for liking everything on... Ooh, is my camera out of sync? Oh, no, I'm just looking at Restreamio. Okay. If pressure unit is MR, then... Sorry, I just have to edit my code here so it doesn't try to set a pressure in bar when the pressure is actually PSI. And then I have to copy and paste that code for the brake cylinder. Thanks for bearing with me with my very clicky keyboard. All right, let's try this again. Set pressure MRPSI is not defined. Because I just call it set pressure. Let's change that. Let's change that to PSI so it's clearer. Might as well name our functions things that make sense. All right, now let's plug this back in. There we go. All right. So let's double check that our gauges match. According to this, we have our main res at a lot, apparently, over 130 PSI, and our brake cylinder at 0, which is not correct. Interesting. Well, let's see what we can get here. Our signal has cleared. Platform is good. Ooh, I like this livery. So let's clear our DRA and get going. Where are my headlights? That is our driver vigilance floor plan. Oh! What just happened? I definitely acknowledge the driver vigilance. Oh, you have to tap it on and off. Well, alright, that's realistic. Also, I can't help but notice I'm starting with 1,000 points. Bear with me while I try a new train and a route I don't play very often. And mess with my train simulator controller setup, of course. Alright, so we gotta tap, tap. I don't think I have my headlights on. Oh, I do. There we go. This is not a fast-moving train compared to our Class 800 IETs. Let's go! Our next station is west of Byfleet in 2 miles. Not sure what the brakes are like on these Class 450s either. So we shall see. That's another thing I'd love to have in real life, a real pedal that I can lift off and push back down for the DSD. I could also cut out the DSD, but I like having the safety systems on. Alright, since I don't know what the brakes are going to be like, let us lay off the throttle and get ready to stop. Clear AWS on a foggy day. Yeah, my brake cylinder doesn't seem to be operating here. Yeah, these brakes seem like they're alright. In fact, I slowed down way too much. We have a, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, an 8-coach train. So we will find ourselves the 8-car stop marker. There's the 4, there's the 8. You're too far forward, sir. You're gonna have to walk. Doors. Doors are open. Do these door buttons work? Unclear. Let's see if I have a actual working guard signal button on here. Ah, interesting. Signal bell. Let's see. Aha, it does work. Very good. Yet another button I'd like to have in real life to press. Next stop, Weybridge in 2 1/3 miles. It is a foggy day. Fast service is going to be passing us, maybe? Nope. Four 450-098. Screenshot. Clear AWS. There we go. I figured what was wrong with my brake pressure. Now I can properly show it on the gauge. One of the interesting things, the reason I had to make the edits I just made on stream to my program is because every train in Train Simulator Classic presents a slightly different interface to hardware. They have a different set of fields that they expose, instruments, controls, etc. And in some cases, they even have the same controls and instruments with different names. So if you want to actually create something, what I'm creating here, you have to build software that understands all the different names and can deal with the subset of functionality that's exposed by all the different trains and locomotives in Train Simulator. So one of the interesting things I'm going to have to be doing is trying a lot of different trains, finding out what their set of controls and instruments are, and gradually updating my script accordingly. Doors. Clear signal, so I don't need to hit my DRA button. That is shrill, for which I apologize, but necessary. You can see now that, wow, I don't think these numbers are correct at all. There is no way that our brake pipe is at like 65 psi. Absolutely not. I refuse to believe that. We have an 80 limit that we're currently in. We will then go back to a 90 limit. Next stop is Walton on Thames. coast and get ready to stop at Walton-on-Thames. That is a tall antenna. McDonald's French fry. Interesting. I can't say I know what that sounds like. Yeah, these are not the world's best brakes, I will say. Full service is okay. Some of these trains have a full service notch. Some have an emergency notch. Yeah, good enough. Doors. I hear another train. Where is it? Hello, other train. Have fun wherever you're going. We have our isolation switches back here, which is where we would disable DSD if we really wanted to. Signal bell back there does not work. Oh well. Oh well. Let's take a look at our to-do list. So after Walton-on-Thames, we'll have Hersham, Esher, Surbiton, Clapham Junction, Vauxhall, and Waterloo. Vauxhall. Gotta work on my UK English pronunciation. Sir, if you could stay on the platform, that would be great. Thanks. Sir, please don't stand in front of the train. Thank you. All right. Just about ready to go. Brakes are releasing. Wait for the two. Two on the bell. Off we go. Sir, please stay behind the yellow line. Our next stop is Hersham in just a mile, so we don't have to get too carried away with the acceleration. Yeah. Yeah, it looked like he was about to fall onto the tracks. That is not paperwork we need to deal with today. After Hersham, we have an 80 limit back to 90, so I can only assume there's a curve there. This foggy morning, combined with my general lack of familiarity with this route, means that I am relying on the HUD quite a bit to tell me where the stations and platforms are. There's the 4-car stop, and there's the 5 and 6-car stop. So I'm going to let us coast forward here towards the 8-car stop. And we're going to be just a few seconds late, looks like. Yeah, that'll do the trick. And doors. Notice that opening the doors applies the brakes at a higher level as a safety measure. Not at 70 psi though. That is absolutely impossible. I'm going to have to debug that. Doors are closing. Wait for the guard. 2 on the bell from us, and let's go. Clear signal. Speed limit of 90, which is going to drop to 80. We got places to be, people to see, and things to do. Next stop is Escher in 1 and 10 miles. Looks like we're estimated to be a bit early there. This is a good example of where having extensive route learning is important because the platform is behind the curve. Gotta get that route knowledge. I'm intrigued by the fact that the center platforms seem to be mostly closed on this route. Oh, that's the 8-car stop. That's where we... Oop, not emergency, please. Thank you. Just full service. Doors. I think it's not a bad looking train. We got here a bit early, so we'll have to wait a few extra seconds to depart. Hello, express train. After Escher, we hit Surbiton, Clapham Junction, Vauxhall, and Waterloo. My favorite WeWork in London overlooks London Waterloo. I discovered there's a room you can work out of that has great views over the tracks leading up to London Waterloo. You can watch the train snaking in and out of the station all day long. It's a really nice place to sit and work. I see a red signal, but that can't be for us. Sure looks like it is, though. But we haven't gotten... No, there we go. There's our signal. That's signals for the fast track. Move my mouse, sorry. Next stop, Surbiton. 2 miles. Got an 85 limit that we are approaching, but that's quite all right. Whoa, that was interesting. My speed wavered for a moment. Clear AWS, clear signal. Welcome, what is up? Welcome to the stream. We are driving a Class 450 to London Waterloo with real instruments. This is a project I've been working on for over a year now, and as I was mentioning during the earlier part of the stream, it has been gradually evolving. There are many, many recursive fractal components of it, like designing a circuit board and firmware to talk over the CAN bus interface. But it's getting there. It is getting there. The next big unknown two big unknowns I need to tackle. One is actually building a good master controller prototype, or acquiring one, and building the actual framework of the dash that's going to contain all of these different instruments in a realistic looking frame. Doors open. Surbiton, Fare Zone 8. So we can use our oyster here. I stopped a little bit short of that 8-car marker, but that's alright. Southwest trains. Oh. Yikes, that's some heartbreaking. I'm doing pretty well, thanks. How are you? Doing pretty well. Time to depart Surbiton and head for Clapham Junction. Doors closing, brakes releasing. We should get our signal. There we go. Signal back. Off we go. Oops, sorry. Notch 3, clear signal. Notch 4, notch 5. Notice that while our East Coast Main Line Class 801 was operating off the overhead line, the overhead electric line, this is third rail territory. AWS, 80 limit, clear signal. Next stop, Clapham Junction, platform 8. Actually go via, so we are not stopping at Clapham Junction. We are just passing through. That makes it sound like our next and last stop will be London Waterloo. Many a time have I walked along the south bank of the Thames and watched the southeast trains, the southwest trains, run along the viaduct between Clapham Junction and Waterloo. Alright, we've got a yellow signal here, so let's start bringing our speed down and get ready for the AWS. There's the AWS. Huh. My button is not working for some reason. I wonder why. It must be called something else on this train. Sorry, let me resolve that real quick. What is our AWS button called, and why is it not working? AWS. Huh. It does have AWS. There we go. Ooh, there's even AWS Sunflower display separate from AWS Sunflower display actual. Anyway, sorry. I have to hit the keyboard button for this, which is unfortunate. We're going to be diverging, so let's bring that speed down for 30 miles an hour. We had a little feather pointing to the right that told us that that's where we were going. There we go. Down below 30 to a safe speed for this switch. Lots of noises. It's not AWS, it's DSD. Now we're on the fast lines, passing over an AWS magnet, which should clear this. There we go. And we can get back up to 75 now that our train is on the fast track. Clapham Junction Platform 8 is the one we are going to be going through in 5 2/3 miles. Let's get up to that 75 limit because we have this speed. And we are running late to get to that. A minute and 3/4 late at the moment. It is foggy today, Train Simulator. Very foggy. Clear AWS, and we are speeding. There goes some of our points. 17 of them, in fact. We have a clear signal. That double yellow is for the slow track. We are on the up fast line because we are going up towards the hub station, and we are on the express track. Three and 3/4 miles to Clapham Junction. Got a big lorry and a bus up on that bridge there. Sea fighting included. This feels a bit speedy for this track. That's what the limit is. AWS, clear. Clear signal. We will not be stopping here today. It looks like a staff platform. Our ETA to Clapham Junction is coming down, but not fast enough. I don't see how we're going to make up a minute in 2 miles. Unless there are some signals that are going to save us here. Seconds late at Clapham Junction. We have a yellow signal up ahead. I believe that is for us. So let's get ready to slow down. 40 limit is coming up. That is more aggressive than I need to be slowing down. Let's speed up a little bit because we have time to make up here. We are going to be late. ESD. That would be very good to have a real pedal for. That would be very good indeed. Alright, now we're down for 40 and then some. Let's keep going. Keep it up, keep it up. 40. Here's platform 8. We are not stopping, we are going. AWS. Go via Vauxhall platform 5. I have a number of copies of this part of London in Train Simulator because the London to Brighton line also goes between Clapham Junction and London, although London Victoria. I do wish there were more combined Train Simulator routes that had a huge interconnected network that you could explore in new and interesting ways. $60 miles an hour. We'll keep it there. It says we're going to be a minute late at Vauxhall, but let us see. Clear AWS, clear signal. We are getting into the heart of London now, and the buildings are getting quite a bit taller. We have a delightfully wide main line here of at least 8 tracks, if not more. Clear AWS. Clear signal. Clear AWS. Clear signal. Speed in. Speed rest. Try to get down for the 40. We've got a restricting signal here. AWS. Looks like we've got a red signal, in fact. There we go. We are at a red signal, so I've got to hit my DRA button there. And we wait for permission into the platform at Waterloo, platform 15. That is a lot of trains. This is what I see from that window. Just this multitude of trains. Amazing. Alright, we've got the signal. Pull our DRA, release the brakes, off we go. Up. Right. Ooh, thanks. Do we have the signal? Hard to tell. Yeah, we do. 15. Cleared at the platform 15. Speeding. Let's not do that. So one of those buildings over there is the one that I like to look out the window of. That's trains like this one. Hello. Bring that speed down a bit. Lots of flange squeal here as we enter London Waterloo. Thanks, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Cornish pasties. Doors open. DRA. Neutral. Or rather off. Key out. And we are here. London Waterloo. 75 points lost along the way. It happens. It happens. A good run in a train and on a route that I have run rarely, if ever. We got some interesting discoveries about what this particular train offers for interfacing with my physical train simulator instruments. So I will have a bit of homework to do to integrate this particular train better with these instruments. And it's going to be time for me to think about making it a little bit more modular so it knows about the different types of trains and what kind of instruments they can talk to. I'm going to have to debug why my physical button for clearing AWS was not working with this scenario, and I will hopefully have some updates next time. Scenario complete. I think that's probably a silver medal, 925, but let's see. Ah, gold. That is a gold star. 900 points. PDL London Waterloo to Portsmouth, getting mixed signals. Not too bad, not too bad. The points lost were for going a little bit speedily. Let's see, my worst offense was 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, which I'm going to call not bad at all. Not bad at all. Well, I really appreciate you all joining for today's stream. It was a pleasure to do this once again. I hope I will make this a semi-regular occurrence, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next stream. Catch you all soon.